Okay, let's give this one a go. Apologies for any additional sound effects. I'm just getting over a cold. Can't say I'm feeling 100% chirpy, but the show must go on. Welcome to Damn Kind Conversations. Today, we have the joy of speaking to a friend of mine called Olympe. Originally from France, Olympe enriches lives through various practices. She supports women during pregnancy and early motherhood as a pre-postnatal optimizer. With the belief that movement is life, she is also a trainer. And most recently, she's taken to finding and creating meaning through singing, songwriting, and performing with her band called Mimo. Our conversation explores a few topics, from breaking free from negative spells, letting go of what doesn't serve you, understanding women's health and the significant suffering, as well as embracing life's transitions. I must say I found a moment of grounding in her mantra of living one day at a time, one task at a time. So keep a lookout for that in the interview. The dialogue is an open, wonderful exchange between two people who are sincerely present. Very grateful for this heartening chat, and I hope you enjoy it too. Back with just one other message. Unfortunately, I'm learning as I go, and in this particular episode, my sound, my audio, my microphone is not behaving very well. So on behalf of my microphone and myself, I apologize for the imbalance in the audio quality between myself and this week's guest. Thank you for your patience and enjoy. Thank you so much for sitting with me today.
Thanks for having me.
How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling good. Yeah, I do.
I just had a separate interview with somebody and they had released a book, and within their book they had this reference to this idea of, rather than asking someone how they are, and people often will give like a default, yeah, good, yeah, great, cool, good, moving on. But it's like, how are you really? He had this sort of tool of saying, how's the cup? And you would visualize what kind of cup it is. Is it big? Is it small? Is it colorful? Is it how? And then you would add how full it is. We don't have to use that analogy today, but how are you really?
I'm good. I'm much better. We talked earlier this morning, and yeah, I was feeling a bit meh because a mix of fatigue and the departure coming up next Wednesday, and I couldn't pinpoint the reason why I was feeling like this, but I think it's because I was saying goodbye to my last client. Not really last client, because I'm going to continue online, but like face-to-face client that I said goodbye to, that I've been following up for 3 years. Yeah. And it was like my catalyst at the end, and he offered me a present, and yeah, I was emotional and I cried. Now I'm good. I'm much better crying. And then after I saw another ex-client, we became friends. She has a little family, 2 kids, and she invited me for lunch just randomly, and her son was just like having a blast talking about all these toys, and so yeah, it was good. Connection it always brings some goodness.
Maybe you circle back to this transitional moment you're in, if you want, but maybe you could introduce yourself as if no one knows you.
Okay, so my name is Olympe, and I'm French. I've been living here in Amsterdam for 11 years. I moved there for love, and then I stayed for the love of the city. That's the story I like to tell. I've been working for over a decade as a personal trainer, and then when COVID hit, things have tremendously changed. There are some good parts. I always believe there are some silver lining in every challenges we're going through, and speed up the process of stopping being personal trainer and becoming a well-being coach. And somehow I had more person who were pregnant or postpartum, so I became more specialist in that. And ultimately, at the same time, I was already singing, but I decided to stop dreaming and took action, and I made my band end of October 2020. Yeah. I like to introduce myself as working as a well-being coach, being a loving person, and I love singing. I'm a singer. Yeah.
It's amazing. You do so many things. I was looking at the list earlier. Pre, postnatal optimizer, master trainer, Thai masseuse, NLP practitioner, singer, songwriter, storyteller. That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. No limits. I used to compartmentalize myself, private life, work. And also growing with our parents, they had one job and they just kept that job all their life, mostly. We belong to a different generation, and I think the youngest even more. Yeah, there's no limit. We're being just, or working as just one thing, or doing just one thing. I think it's important to explore the things we are passionate, interested about, because at the end of the day, we only have one life.
Yeah, you talked about the silver lining of COVID, that period of time. Could you describe that a little bit more, that articulation of what the silver lining is in that moment of hardship?
Yeah, for me, the silver lining is all the gems that came to me, all the great encounter experiences, opportunities as well. I had a lot of opportunities work-wise. I tried some things, certain things didn't work. But yeah, I had great things. Like I was living on my own when COVID hit, when we had to close everything at the first lockdown. That was really tough. But then when, I don't know when it was, but it was like, I think we were spring, and then my friends would meet once a week, because even if the circle of friends was quite small, for me it was important to meet people every Wednesday. That was my friends and they are living here. And then another time of the week there was another friend. Yeah, otherwise, yeah. I think we are completely social animal. We cannot live isolated. Yeah, this was one of the silver lining as well. This like small support system. And also my friend happened to leave their apartment for a bigger one. And I had the opportunity of moving in that apartment. And literally 1 week before, a friend of mine was telling me, oh, my roommate just stopped the contract without telling me. I have to quit the apartment in 3 weeks. I had an apartment. I had a friend who needed a house. I proposed her to live together, and that's what happened. And it just worked like organically. I wasn't looking for it. It just came to me. So that's one of the gems as well. And I lived there for 3 years, and it was great. I had so many good things, and the band as well.
Do you believe in signs and signals?
Yeah, I'm very spiritual. I think that I really believe in when we stop controlling things, letting go. And it's not easy because we are living in a society that tells you that you have to plan everything and prepare for everything, but we never know. It can stop tomorrow. When we let go and trust the process, I trust the universe, I really believe that things come to you. And of course, I think that when we follow what we preach for, also, yeah, important. For instance, I do believe that words are spells. And so even talking to myself negatively, it's not good. It's not going to be good for my health, but everything. I do believe that I create negative, how you say, like energetic negative thing, and it's going to act like a magnet. And same if I talk to myself positively, I definitely think around me is going to be more positive.
What kind of spells do you tell yourself? Like what are either the positive or the negative thing?
Positive now.
Always?
Yeah, always. And if I almost catch myself doing, because if, for instance, the other day I almost fell in a step, and I almost said that I was stupid, and I was like, no, I am not. I'm just a human being. Happens. And Also, I was carrying too many things in my arms. I said, lesson learned. I will not carry so many things in my steps. So when I almost catch myself saying, oh, I'm stupid. No, I'm just a human being and it happens. Now I know the next time I will not take the steps with too many things in my arms. Yeah.
What kind of, if I may ask, I don't wish, is it okay to ask you this question? What kind of negative things would you normally have said to yourself in the past?
Oh, you're stupid. Yeah, I'm so stupid. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, and that's a French thing, that je suis con. Oh, je suis con. A lot of people say it. Oh, je suis con means I'm stupid. And I don't say it anymore. And when people tell me, oh, je suis con, I say, no, you're just a human being. Just this and that. Okay? We all forget things, and that doesn't make us stupid. Just human being. Yeah.
How did you arrive at this place where you're able to catch yourself and able to be kind to yourself?
I think it was a combination of a lot of things. My journey of healing, and it's not finished, I'm still on it, and it will be all my life. I was aware I had the anger management issues from the schooling. I grew up in a family where there were a lot of love, but arguments and sometimes mean words. And then there would be no conversations, so no talk. So be passive aggressive or sometimes like teasing until the person explode and then shout and cry. And then once it explode, finally, oh, I'm sorry, and then oh, we make peace, but we don't really talk about what was wrong and stuff. But it's now it explodes, everything goes back to normal. So that was my schooling. I was aware of there was something off, especially when you start living with someone. So I moved there for love, and I was living with my boyfriend, and yeah, we had a lot of disagreement. There was some good stuff, but I had issues, relationship, and so I went to a therapist, and I started like this. Yeah.
So just patience, therapy.
Therapy, and also I was already on my fitness journey as a fitness instructor / personal trainer. So I was already touching some of being health. What you eat is like that's the first medicine. I never really took drugs as well. Punning, yeah, maybe. But when you were sick, taking like automatically paracetamol, stuff like that. In France, it's a lot, and I stopped that. And so I already had a little bit of knowledge in well-being, and also a little bit of meditation, because I used to teach body balance, which is a fitness concept, but that's the only way I discovered meditation. And then also working in the gym here, there was some yoga classes. So I was already in that environment. And yeah, I started to pursue that with sport. I've always been a very disciplined person and implementing new habits. So yeah, I'd say therapy, and then self-development with books, and yeah, exchanging with friends.
What do you think was the underlying motivation there? Because I remember when I first met you, not when I first met you, but I remember some of our early memories together where we would be like, maybe like pride or something, and it's normally a circumstance when people will drink a lot, take drugs, and they party, but you and I both weren't at the time, I think. But I remember you specifically being like, nope, don't do that, not doing that now. I've chosen not to do it.
Yeah.
And then you left at a good time and you were like, I'm going to go home and have some sleep.
Yeah.
What's the motivation there? Because I think people aspire to be able to do that, but in the moment you get caught up in the moment. I'm overusing the word moment here. You get lost or caught up in the excitement of the event and may lose touch with your primary goal.
Yeah.
So what was your motivation to start making this?
Because I did party before. I did drink a lot and taking drugs too, and it never served me. The days after, I was miserable, really miserable, depressed, And I was like, what's the point? For just a little fireworks and then even not a firecracker. And then after the whole thing that follows, I'm like, no. I know that it doesn't serve me. Or maybe I'm going to have fun on the moment. And I also, because I was more and more aware of who I was, I'm a very loving person. I'm a very sensitive person. I can sense things. And I think before I knew that, I was too overwhelmed by it. So I needed to cover it up to deal with people. And yeah, just like drinking, then I was like, yeah, I'm the fun Olympe, but deep inside I was like, yeah. And now, and yeah, going that direction of getting to know myself and doing things that really brings me goodness. Then I was like, no, I don't need it. I don't need it anymore.
It's an there's two ways to go here, but that idea of, I can relate as an introvert who can go out and be social at times, recognize myself in the past where I can have drinks and party, but I now can see that a lot of it was to do with covering up a nervousness.
Yeah, of course.
In the first place. Or not nervous just because there's big crowds, but because you're like maybe in a big circle with friends and you can see all the micro behaviors, the way someone's like kind of holding their arm or scanning somebody else, and it's hard to hold a conversation when that's all going and the music's too loud and whatever else is happening. So where am I going with this? Maybe a dead end where I just say, I feel you and I understand. Yeah. And making those choices to do something different is interesting. What were those things that better served you that you started to move towards? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, training, I was training quite a lot when I was still working at gyms. But yeah, I believe that movement is life. Of course, some people are limited, but I think that even if they get helped to move their body when they cannot do it by themselves, can really help feeling better. And so movement, I believe in this for a very long time. Before I was really just fitness, but then when more and more my approach was more and more holistic, so not just fitness, because what's more, so movement, so when it comes to dance or just doing whatever movement of mobility, a lot of different things are into that spectrum. And then also breath work that I discovered. I was already doing that a little bit with body balance and yoga, but then I got really into it. Yeah, I think it was maybe in 2019 or so, with the Iceman, Wim Hof. Then also sign up with the app, which is Insight Timer. So it's an app where you have a lot of teachers with some courses, sometimes some challenges around different topics. And it covers so many things like affirmation or prayers or yoga, sometimes stretches, so many. Insight Timer.
Insight time.
Yeah. So you have many other, I think there was the Calm as well that I was using before that, and Headspace. Headspace. Yeah, so I tried them all. But I think Insight Timer is my favorite. Yeah. Because you have so many different type of meditation. So it's a way of discovering different technique and how I can implement them for my day-to-day life. Certain things talk to me more than others, and I like to have the choice. But now there's so many things, sometimes it can be overwhelming. So now I'm staying just with the teacher that I like, and I create my own little, let's say, book shelf on the app.
But yeah, I see here you say massage, movement, and mind. Could I just zoom in a little bit on these individual things that you are? That it's a pre-postnatal optimizer. Could you focus in on this part of the Olympe that you are, and tell me a little bit more about it?
Yeah. For pregnancy, create comfort and also preventing what is going to happen after postpartum. So having back complaints on the upper body, lower back, also the diastasis recti. So it's when your six-pack muscle is divided in two parts, left and right, and you have a gap that can be quite wide. So we usually measure it with the fingers. And if the diastasis recti is too wide, you can have trouble later on. You can prevent that already during pregnancy. So to be able to carry the baby with the pelvis instead of the belly. You will see a lot of pregnant women putting their hands like this. Yeah, so the kind of like the stereotype of the pregnant woman standing up. You see the hands going like this and the back arching a lot. And so it's more carrying the baby with the belly. So the exercises are just, creating new data for that person to carry the baby with the pelvis, and also doing some stretches to do the stretch vertically on the belly, because when the baby grow, can stretch horizontally, so then automatically you'll have a bigger diastasis recti. So if you have some stretches to do vertical stretch all along the pregnancy, you can prevent the width of the diastasis recti. There are some exercises to open up to help making space, because the baby is going to push, so you're going to feel the ribs. The ribs, they get widened. The pelvis as well. And these things can create discomfort and pain sometimes. For instance, your pubic bone is a joint actually. It's in two parts. So when you're pregnant, because your body is naturally creating hormones that makes your joints looser, so then to give birth, then it's easier. Big. That's the natural way. All the joints are looser. And then it can happen that the pubic bone can be super painful because those things are moving during the pregnancy. You can have pain just on your pubic bone because the joint is moving. You can have pain on your back also, the tailbone, a lot of complaints. And of course, there are some women who don't have any complaints all along their pregnancy, but some they do. And why suffering in silence? Just saying, oh, that's part of it. No, of course you can have some trouble, but you can also have solutions to be a little bit more comfortable. That's the thing, as women, we learn quite early to suffer in silence. So, it's part of it. This shall go. Oh, it's just, I'm suffering, but I'm just gonna not say anything. No, you have some tools that can make your life a little bit less difficult. And then postpartum, I always say that it's important to prepare it before, because very often the person who is pregnant is going to think of just the pregnancy and the birth. And then the rest, we'll figure it out. Postpartum is no joke. First of all, depends how the birth is going, because sometimes it doesn't go as expected, and sometimes it's also because they were not really informed. There's a lot of work to do still. Yeah, especially in a medical part. Not everybody has the means to have a doula and a coach, and so I think it's really important to talk more and more about that. But postpartum is no joke. Birth can be really challenging. It can be traumatic. Really traumatic, depending on the medical team you have around you. I heard some crazy stories. And afterwards, the 40 days that follow giving birth, so even if you had a C-section, first of all, recovering the C-section, and the whole process of giving birth. So if you chose your C-section, it's one thing. If you haven't chosen your C-section, it's also another thing. If you wanted to have a natural birth and you end up having a C-section, that can be traumatic as well. And just not recognizing your body. The body has changed. You can pee your pants. I cannot hold sometimes the poop. It's just, I don't have any control of my body. And then I have to take care of a new human being. And I don't know who I am as a mom. I have to handle my couple life as well. Sometimes the partner, there's a lot. Especially, and plus, if you're an expat and you don't have family, it's tough. Yeah.
So where do you slot into that? And how did this come about, this specialization?
When I was a personal trainer, as a female personal trainer, I had more female clients. Or I had some guys, but not many. And I had also trans clients. But I knew that most of my clients might get pregnant. And so I wanted to learn more because I realized when I moved there, for 2 years, I was doing this boot camp for women. And it happened quite many times that some newcomers would come at the boot camp and ask me, hey, I just gave birth a few weeks ago. Do you think I can do it? I'm like, I am not a doctor. I don't know what you've been through. I don't know how was your birth. And in France, we do perineal re-education. So the perineum is the muscle. So when you want to pee and there's no toilet, you're squeezing something, right? We all have one. Also you guys. You do have a perineum. And this muscle is a part of the core, actually. And this muscle can get pretty shattered from the pregnancy, from the birth, if you had an episiotomy, if you've been cut, if you had some stitches. And so actually they were asking me, oh, can I do it again? I'm like, but have you done the perineal rehab, re-education? They were like, what is that? I was like, what? How can you not know?
So what is it exactly?
It's training that muscle that can help you holding your pee, holding your poop. If you haven't trained it properly after birth, you can have a tremendous thing. You go on a trampoline, you pee your pants. You run, you can pee your pants.
So physically speaking, help me connect with my own, how do I say it? Perineal?
Perineum.
Perineum. Yeah. Help me connect with it so that anyone listening to this could, in this instance, understand exactly where it is.
It starts on the anus. This one, you can feel it.
Located.
Yeah. And then it goes all the way to the front. So for women, or if you have some female parts, it goes towards the clitoris. Men, I'm not sure exactly, but it's linked to the penis and the balls as well, because actually training it can help you prevent prostate issues later on. Yeah. So, I didn't know, huh?
I wasn't aware of the specific details of the benefits for men in that way. I also think it's interesting that, because I think Dutch healthcare again, I don't have children and I've not been through a pregnancy here, but I'm aware of this sense that it's quite good to have, easy to have children here because you have this, what's this service called when someone comes into the kraamzorg afterwards. Anyone listening to this who's not in the Netherlands?
Yeah, but they come for 1 week.
It's a service where is it a doula or a midwife?
No, I would say it's they learn some practice. They learn certain things like changing the, how you say, the plaster. When you have something to change, if you have an injury or you just had a surgery. So they know how to do that. They can help you taking your shower, but they can also cook for you. They can take care of your baby, help also for the breastfeeding sometimes. It depends on the kraamzorg. Yeah, it's in between a midwife. They have a nurse knowledge a little bit. But yeah, it's very specific to Netherlands. It's great, but there's so much work, so much more things we can do. to prevent. I mean, it has changed because there are more and more physios that are doing now re-education of the perineal area that can help you. They're really specialized in that now. But back then, back in 2013, all the women, first of all, they don't really go to the, many women here, they don't go to the gynecologist. In France, you go once, twice a year at least. So it's a different way of approaching women's health, I would say. So that was the reason why I decided to go to, I talked to a friend of mine who happened to be a doula for a very long time in Nice. And I told her, I said, hey, that's so weird here. They don't do the perineal re-education. It's just like nonsense. And they go back to sport. They don't ask their doctor. I'm like, what? She was like, yeah, but take into consideration that natural birth is a little bit more, it's less medicalized than in France, much more medicalized. So the body has a hard time to go back to its functions because of the drugs. But even if it's you don't have so much drug, sometimes really depends on how the birth went and stuff. Sometimes it's hard to get back in touch with your body. I have some clients that have numbness; they can't feel anything, and it takes time. So yeah, that was the reason why I was like, I want to have more knowledge and help my client if they get pregnant and after. And so I went to Paris. I went to this institute that my friend Doula suggested me, and they are pretty well known in France, the Gasquet Institute. And Bernadette de Gasquet is actually a woman who, she had 3 kids, and she was doing yoga for a very long time. And through her 3 pregnancies, she was like, something is not right. And yeah, with all the things, giving birth, is when you are sitting, when you're lying on the bed with your legs up, it's not natural. Because then, as I was saying earlier, your joints are super loose when you're pregnant. And so the tailbone, all this area, the sacrum and tailbone, it becomes loose as well. And if you lie on it, can't move. So depending how the baby is coming, it's going to be harder. So the birth is more for the doctor to be comfortable with the birth. And the woman is pretty passive, especially if you have drugs and then you're in a position you can't really. So then it for the comfortable, to give a comfortable position to the doctor, but the person is not, the person who should be at the first position of this moment should be the person who is giving birth. So, well, it depends if you don't have drugs, then you can stand, you can go on the deep squat, you can go on the fourth, you can just lie on the side. There's a lot of different positions, but not on the bed with the legs like this. So she explored this and she decided to take back her study. She became a doctor and she's really specialized in that, and she created her own method, and she now trains a midwife, nurse, even doctors, I can't remember the name, those who are specialized in giving birth. She also does training for them.
So what did your training look like? And how do you come in going, hey, I'm Olympe, I'm a personal trainer and I want to... Yeah. How does it work? Do they educate people like yourself?
Yes, yeah. It's for like people who are already more or less in health. People who were with me, they were already either in the fitness industry. I remember there was one fireman who wanted to become a trainer. And they were already all working in either medical or fitness, wellness industry.
So what kind of principles did you learn there? And I'm curious, how would I say this? If you feel, or it seems that this is a kind of blind spot of consideration for people going through a pregnancy, what are the kinds of things that you learn, but also how do you specifically help people on this journey, and what should they be looking out for as they go through their pregnancy?
Yeah, what I've learned it's for prenatal it's 3 days and postnatal is 3 days. So it's not like I've done 1 year study or 2 years or whatever, but I already had some knowledge from my experience as a personal trainer. So we go through anatomy, we go through physiology, how the body works during pregnancy and also after pregnancy, and what are the positions that can really give comfort, and how you can continue being strong while you are pregnant, because you're pregnant when you're not sick. But there's some ways of some movement to avoid, some other movement you can do, and yeah, comfort and prevention as well. And then depends on the person. So I always work on the spot with the people. I always do like a intake to see if it's the first pregnancy, second pregnancy or more, how they feel, what kind of complaint they have on the day. And then I adapt my session to what they... So I always talk like 5-10 minutes with the person, and then I work with it.
It also sounds like, from what you were saying earlier, that you see that there's a recurring issue with, I'm not going to use the right word, but you described this sort of like opening of the...
Yeah, diastasis. It's quite common. It's a lot of women... Many women have it. It's quite normal. That's a baby been growing in your belly for 9 months or sometimes less. But that's quite common. But we can prevent it to be less important. That's possible.
So I feel like I could zoom in on all of these things that you are, but we would be here for maybe 4 or 5 hours. I can already feel this going down like a tunnel. Like I could just keep asking questions about pre and postnatal. What's your primary focus right now?
I'm going back to France next Wednesday. I'm taking a break from work. It's a semi-sabbatical because I still have a few clients online. So I'm going to continue taking care of them. They are not pregnant. One is postpartum +2. So her daughter just turned 2 years old. And I'm taking care of her husband, actually, because before I was specialized in postural alignment, rehabilitation after injury or surgery, preventing for people who have like chronic issues like back issues, shoulders. So that was my specialty. And while she was pregnant, her husband had a wake-up call and was like, I want to be able to play with my daughter. And so I started following him, and it's been 2 years and a half, maybe almost 3, that I've been following him for that, to just be more functional, have less back issues, more mobility, and the progress is tremendous. He's really happy about it. So happy that when his mom was visiting from India, he wanted me to also follow her, and I did. So I did one session with the little program. And same, she hasn't been going on the floor for 25 years. Just lying down on the floor. She was scared of going down on the floor. The first day I saw her, I managed to make her going down on her back and standing up on her own. She was super scared. First, the first attempt we've done it together, I was holding her arms, but I showed her techniques, really easy technique to use the couch or use a chair and breathing, and she managed to do it. And she was so excited. She was doing it 10 times in a row. I was like, yeah. And then, so that's really, yeah, it was great. So anyway, so I'm following these clients and another client who is pregnant. Yeah, she's pregnant due end of December.
If it's okay, I just want to pick up on something here that's happening energetically.
Yeah.
You talk about taking a sabbatical and going back to France, and I sense fatigue. And
Oh yeah.
but when you talk about these moments with your clients, you are animated.
Yeah, I love it. I'm passionate about it. I love helping. It's not just helping people, it's just bringing them comfort. They feel so much better, and it's giving them tools that can reuse them when I'm not with them. For me, it's so important that people learn being in touch with themselves, because we are working together, but I don't want you to depend on me. I want you to learn for you, so then you can walk on your own. And yeah, I love it.
But I sense that there's some healing to be done for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Would you mind telling me a little bit more about that choice, zooming in on why you're going home?
Yeah. Yeah, you know already the reason why I stayed here is because I felt like I felt home, and I still feel home, but something is missing. And I tried to plant my roots here, but I really felt the soil wasn't nutritious enough. And yeah, I just miss being in Nice. I miss being with my mom, with my cousins. I'm a very family person. The reason why I came here was for love. I thought we would be together for a longer period and having kids. This also was really a tough thing to work on. And I think the reason why I ended up taking care of prenatal and postnatal was very therapeutic for me. Because since I was 32, I was obsessed of having a kid. Yeah, I was really obsessed. But why? Because before coming here, I went to the gynecologist. If I go against the gynecologist, I think I will go. Really, I have to listen to my intuition. Anyway, that person told me that I had fibroids. So fibroids is like a tumor can be inside the uterus, can be outside the uterus, vagina. And so I had multiple fibroids. And this very delicate doctor told me that my uterus looked like a cauliflower. And if I wanted to have kid, I better hurry. Then I had a higher risk of having miscarriage. And the later I go, the less chance I'll have to have kids. I was traumatized. Really, I was really traumatized by everything that he told me. And I went out of the practice, I was crying so hard. And from that moment, I was obsessed of having a kid. I was scared of not being able to have kids. Yeah, it was tough. And then, of course, with my ex-boyfriend, it was not the moment, never the moment. But it didn't happen, and I believe it wasn't supposed to happen, and it's good. And then after being single, and then again, even if I don't believe that I follow completely the societal stream for many reasons, but there's still the influence sometimes. Oh, I turned 40. Oh my God, I'm going to turn 40. I still don't have kids. I really want to have kids. I even explore having a kid with a friend. Didn't happen. I even explored the fact of having a kid on my own. I talked with friends who went through that journey, and no. Because again, I felt my family's not there with me. I don't feel like having a kid on my own here. Some people are doing it, and it's really good on them, and it's really a personal thing. But I was like, no. I made peace with it. I really made peace with it. Now I'm like, didn't happen. Maybe it will happen. If it does, it's good. If it doesn't, it's okay. But I don't want to be miserable in between. and chase it. Now it has been for like over a decade to be like obsessed with the idea of having a kid. And you're getting old, all your eggs and everything. I'm like, leave me alone. And taking care of women during those journey of being pregnant, moms, and was really healing for me. Yeah, during COVID, I had more clients. First of all, some of my clients got pregnant. Yeah, I was really excited about it. And then I had more clients that came to me. They were in postpartum. And yeah, it went like this. And then when, I don't know, because...
I'm wondering if I may jump in. I imagine if I'm in your shoes, if I was you, which I'm not, but trying to explore this with you, that if I was in a place where I was very much wanting to have children and felt the social constructs of our world putting that pressure on me, and that then I am with clients who are getting pregnant, that the way I feel about it would be, that's going to be hard for me, triggering, and I'm seeing something I can't have, or don't have right now.
Yeah.
How is it healing? How did you choose that way to look at it?
The thing is, I think that I've always had the capacity of being happy for someone, even if I don't have that thing. Yeah, when I love people, I just want to be happy when they are going through something amazing. I'm like, yay! I'm going to hype them. And it's something that has been always part of me, I think, to hype people. Since hype people, really, like, always. I'm a connector and I'm a motivator, and that you can recognize in every part of what I'm doing with the music and with friendship. I'm like this. So it's part of me. And then when my client, they got pregnant, I was really happy for them, and I didn't feel like, oh, how about me? Yeah, of course, I had this, but not like in comparison with my client. I could, yeah, step away from that. Yeah, and even if I wasn't experiencing it myself, I just love seeing the evolution and how I was able to bring comfort. Every time we do a session, I feel much better now. Oh, thank you. And I'm like, yes, that's my mission. Yeah. And then last year, I was already back in 2020. A person with who I was working then, she said, oh, this person used to come to our class and she's opening her own thing and she's looking for a place. But it was 2020, so then everything changed. But then we reached out to her because she then opened her place called the Labor Department. And it's all around parent pregnancy, postpartum, but also sleeping for the baby, the food. There's a therapist as well. It really covers a huge spectrum around parenthood. And so I reached out to her, and she proposed me to do something. And I didn't want to have a class anymore, but I wanted to propose a shorter thing, like a course, like 4 weeks course. And we started like this. And and then it evolved to 6 weeks course. And it worked really well. And I loved it. The new moms could bring their babies or not. And I've seen so many babies. I love babies. I love kids. But also, when I was a kid, I already loved babies. Yeah, I'm a natural with kids. And so, for me, it was, and I never felt sad. The opposite. It was really like comforting to see that I could help these women, have a good time with them, seeing those little babies, very cute. Yeah.
I don't know if this is the right thing to say or not, but if one cannot have some thing in the way they thought they could, but they can still participate. That can sometimes be enough.
Yeah, exactly. And since those past, I'm gonna say, 3 years, having kids is great, but it's no joke, man. It's, yeah. Now I'm really now seeing all this, and of course it's not my journey, but seeing all this now, it really made me really reconsidering the fact of, do I really want to have a kid? Do I really want to have a kid on my own? No. No.
I don't want to go backwards in our conversation, but there's something I'd like to just circle back to, and it's about the doctor.
Yeah.
And I don't wish to connect you back to that place emotionally, but as you tell me about it, I get uncomfortable. I feel, and it's not about me, but I'm trying to get to my point here. I feel uncomfortable for you going through that experience, but I also feel uncomfortable as a man that a man said those things. So it's, what could he do differently, and what this is maybe a terrible question, but what can men do in society that would be better in this circumstance?
Educate themselves.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point.
Having conversations, open conversations. Yeah, because, and I think it's changing, but it's very slowly. But yeah, having open conversations, not trying to interpret what we are saying as women, or when we say our experiences, or what you mean by that, it's this, right? Don't mansplain me what I'm feeling. So yeah, having conversations and educating themselves, because nowadays there's so much ways of learning. And when it comes to other things that we like, periods and stuff, some men sometimes like, it's not me. Or when women get raped, oh yeah, but it's not me. I am not like this. But yeah, you're not like this, but some are like this. So how can you change this? The locker room conversations. You hear some things, but you don't say. It's off. Yeah. This, for instance, having conversations, educating, having short conversations with women and trans people, and yeah, to open up and at least listen, not necessarily understanding. And then when the awareness is there, also having conversation between men. I had this conversation once with a colleague of mine who defend himself to be not and accepting everybody, but then he witnessed a conversation between some guys, and there some colleagues were explaining that, and they didn't say anything. He didn't say anything. I told him, as a man, you have the responsibility, because those guys, they look up to you. You like the male will represent what's being a man for them. As you have this awareness and knowledge, it's your responsibility to share this with them, to maybe crack open something and put a little seed in their brain, and maybe start changing, having a different look at it. But if we don't talk, yeah.
I certainly agree with everything you're saying about having conversations and educating yourself, and also taking responsibility for a wider net than yourself. And maybe I'm over like stressing, trying to get an answer, but if I had even an idea that you were going through this moment where you want to have children, and that it's not happening for you, how I can have that conversation with you in the first place. Because maybe I'm terrified to even bring it up.
Yeah, of course. It's scary. It's very personal things, and I think something that I learned with my coaching is less is more sometimes. You don't necessarily have to ask questions. You can start having a conversation and then when you don't talk much, people open up more and more if they feel comfortable, of course. But yeah, having open conversations and sometimes just being a listener and not necessarily finding a solution or something that makes you feel. Because it's true, sometimes as friends we want, oh, my friend is in pain, I want to help, I want to do something, but sometimes we'll never be able to have the tools what they need. I do believe that we all have the tools and the answers we are looking for. Most of the time, I think people need to speak. And by speaking more and more, sometimes answers come to them. So as friends, sometimes we don't need to give them the help and just the support of listening and being there. That's already a big thing.
So, in some instance, I wanted to pivot slightly here because there's this other part of you I want to discuss. And what you're sharing with me now is this idea that maybe it's just creating space for someone to express internally what's going on. So this is a bit of a clunky transition to talk about you expressing yourself as a singer-songwriter.
I always loved singing. And actually, when I was younger, I wanted to be a singer. I even sent, back then, when I was in my 20s, I sent because back then there was a videotape to apply for a TV show, like a real TV show where you can become a singer. So I sent a videotape back then. So I always wanted to be a singer, but I was scared. And I wasn't as confident. I didn't love myself as I do now. I was scared. And yeah, there was judgment. Also, people, family or people around, yeah, but you need a real job. This is not a real job. I think self-trust, self-confidence, that was lacking. Yeah. And so when I moved there, because before coming here, I had few stuff. I did back singer for reggae singer on his album. I had a featuring with a rapper. I had a few bands. And before coming here, I was punctually doing back singer for events, weddings, bar mitzvah. And then when I moved here, it took 2 years for me to feel home. And I stopped singing. I even stopped singing. But then when I started feeling home, I started singing again. And I was like, I want to take some classes because I never really had a coach. And I started having a coach. So I worked with her for 3 years. And then she proposed me to start writing my own song. And I always loved writing as well, on and off, not really going in depth with that. I used to have also a rap band with my cousins for 2 years when I was a teenager. So we were writing songs. And I like to journal as well. I do writing. So I was like, okay, let's start like this. So I started writing songs in collaboration with her. And then already when I was taking the singing class, I was like, I want to have a band. I want to have a band. I want to have a band. Okay, but what are you doing? What are you doing about it? I said, oh, I want to have a band. Okay, but what are you doing? And then COVID was just the earthquake I needed. So I was already on those groups on Facebook, musicians in Amsterdam, musicians, for some time, but I never dared to. And that time I did. I said, fuck it. I had one song that was recorded, which is Fast Food Loud. I put, and the link was on SoundCloud. So I put an announce on those groups. I put the SoundCloud link. I said, okay, I want to do covers and then eventually writing stuff. But let's see. And then I had a lot of answers. And yeah, and then the rest is history. The band was born.
This is a selfish question, but maybe I want to ask it anyway. I'm just starting this project, early days. It's quite a lot of emotional energy to put myself out there. What would be your advice to anyone who has an idea for something but hasn't yet started?
That we have one life, and we only have one life, and we're so lucky. The thing is that the awareness of being so privileged in a country at peace, to be healthy. I don't have any health issues. I always had a house. I can eat whenever. I don't have limits. I consider myself a very rich person. Even if you look at the compass of the society, I'm not rich, but I am super rich. I'm very well surrounded and loved. And I always loved music. And let's do it. Of course, there will be some quacks, but that's how you learn. That's when you do things and, oh, it didn't work, oh, I don't like this. But if you don't do it, you'll never know. You can just have some ideas, but no. And just listening to the gut and not listening to people, because even loved ones sometimes, I'm like, but are you sure about this? But what about this and that? My truth. Mine. No one knows better than yourself. But yeah, stay sticking to your truth and your intuition, and also what really drives you, what you love in this.
It's hard to do that sometimes when you're stressed or tired or having a moment of self-doubt. It can have a ripple effect on everything you do. So I'm aware that the time, okay. So cool. There's so many, we're going to need a part 2 here, okay? Maybe we're going to be a great excuse to come to Nice. Hey! Okay, so you do a lot of things here, but I'm curious if you just take a step back from all of these disciplines you have and think about healing as a concept, how would you define healing?
Yeah, because having either a coach or a therapist, asking for help, talking, with being surrounding ourselves by people that lift you up and people you can talk to openly. And then developing a love relationship with oneself. Yeah. My way of having my love relationship is a certain way. It might not be the same for any other people. My way is to take time in the morning and having breath work, connecting with my body, doing some meditation, not watching horror movies, not watching violent stuff anymore. Although I used to watch more investigation, serial killers, because I still enjoy investigation things, but I rather go for happy stuff, funny things. Yeah, no horror movies. Yeah, I don't watch much news as well. Time to time, but there's so much input. I'm aware of what's going on in the world, but I also intentionally don't fall into the rabbit hole of the horror happening. There are some horrible things happening. Yeah. It's great to read some self-help books. But I think to have like external person, professional, a therapist or a coach, yeah, you can really, at least for me, I could really go in depth with things, explore, and also create my own tools to cope with things, to cope with my own emotions. Because before I was really into positive, always positive, even though I'm positive. So it was like just pushing away the other emotions. So when I was angry or sad, I didn't like it. I don't want to be sad. I just want to cover it up. No, now, no. I feel like this. It will pass. Then it's also exploration. Okay, what triggered this? Why I'm feeling this way? Or letting be and knowing that it's like a wave. But I think having a coach really helped me having this, develop a coaching. Therapy was good, but at least what worked the best for me was coaching. Uh, I don't know, I felt like the exercise we were doing were more like straightforward, and maybe I was also at that time more ready also. But yeah, I really developed, I acquired some more tools to cope with what life brings. And yeah, I have my down moments. I sometimes feel, I just want to be on the couch. And it's also okay. Before I would feel guilty of feeling that way. That's even worse. It's just, what? Yes. Feeling guilty or feeling this way, you know? So, yeah. And I still sometimes have these moments, and it's try, operate, try again. It's not, oh, I found a way, now I'm good. No, it's just...
Yeah, there's something, I'm really glad that you're sharing these moments, because one of the reasons I wanted to start this project was just to create space for that kind of vulnerability. I think often we just see the end results, the triumphant moment, and not the moments of futility, that we're like despairing and feeling terrible and feeling bad about feeling bad.
Yeah. But I do believe that they have their own place.
I also what you said though about just experiencing all the emotions, allowing yourself to go through the range.
Yeah.
As a final question, what do you trust in?
I trust in the universe. I trust in the process. I trust in myself. Yeah, I trust myself. And of course, sometimes I can be overwhelmed by things. Like this morning that I was feeling meh. And after having a session with my client that we say goodbye, we hugged, I cried. It was liberating as well. And then on my bike, I was before going to the session, when I left here and going to my session, I was feeling meh. And then I was like, okay, one task at a time, one day at a time, one task at a time, one day at a time. And then I remind this, and then already arriving there, I was feeling better. And then I did the session with my client, enjoying it. And then after we said goodbye, and then I said, we said the goodbye, I cried. Then I understood why I was feeling also partly. So yeah, the one day at a time, one task at a time, is really helpful when I feel uncomfortable, stressed or overwhelmed. I also practiced that during the moving, before the packing and stuff. I couldn't see the end of it. Sometimes I was laughing, sometimes I was crying, I was panicking. And then one day at a time, one task at a time, one at a time. It really calms me. Yeah.
That's really a wonderful way to describe trusting in yourself, trusting in your process and your own intuition, and kind of having this patience with yourself. Just as we're coming to the end here, you're at this like pivotal moment where you're leaving behind a city and a community and moving back to your own culture in your own city. What do you seek that you currently do not have?
Just simple things. Hanging out with my mom. Eating my pambagna. Pambagna is a traditional sandwich from Nice. Just eating my pambagna on the beach. Go for a walk along the beach. Just walking in the city. Being on the bike there. Seeing my family, my cousins, my old friends as well. Just that. Yeah. Very simple. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're going to end this conversation on that sort of loving, wonderful, yummy space that is. And if anyone is listening to that, I hope that you can just connect with that feeling as you move forward. I'm so glad that you made time for me before you leave.
Yeah, I'm glad we had this conversation. Yeah, that was good.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Please come back sometime.